Looks okay. Okay. So let me just put some space in here. And the next thing we're going to do is the output files. Now we need the output file names. So the first one is dense. It's going to be called dense CF file name. That's the first one. And that, just as before, P4 test percentage T dense CF that TXT. This is going to be a TXT file. And percentage test case, of course, test case. And then dense rates, the file name equals P4 test D dense rates txt and test case, of course. Okay, we're good with the names according to the grading system. That's what we're going to use. Now we need from this part right here, the annuity terms from this file. So I'm just going to put a comment here that what we're about to do, okay, is get annuity terms. We're going to need that for, remember, that tells you how many of this monthly payments should be, how many cash flows. So we're going to need to get that 26 from that test one terms. So we're going to call this terms file. Okay. Once again, he's coding it a little different than what I would, but we're keeping it the way he wants it. This is a little obsolete way of coding it, but that's okay. That's okay. So we're using open here because we wanna open the annuity terms file name that we specify right here. This one right here. We're gonna open it for reading only. So comma R right there for reading only. And then we're gonna skip the first line, with the titles, So we're just going to skip the titles, the first line with the titles. For that, you just do terms file, that read line. So that reads the first line, but we're doing nothing with it. So that's like skipping it, okay? We're not doing anything. Just reading the first line, then it moves to the second line. Since we're not doing anything with this first read line, it's the same as skipping it. Same thing, right? Same thing. We're not doing anything. Now we're doing something with the next one. That's different, right? So this is the line with the numbers. Okay. So this line, I'm going to assign the next read line. So this is the same as the one above, but I'm doing something with it. So this is the next line. We're assigning it to line right here. Now that we have the line, so let's take a look at this here. Now that we have, where is the terms? Right there. So now that we're reading this line, 26.1, we need to split it. Remember, this is a CSV file, so it's comma separated. It doesn't look like this, like in Excel. It's actually comma separated, so we need to split it by a comma and get the term and the inflation from the split. How you do that? Like this. Watch. So split into two values, which is going to be term and inflation. All right, so let's do that. So you do is line that is split, and in parentheses you put the symbol or the sign that you want to split it by, which is going to be comma in there. And you're going to assign this. This is going to give you two values once you split it. It's going to give you two values because there are two there, right? So it's going to give you two. So you need two variables to assign it to on the left side. And one is going to be called annuity term, only one, and inflation. Okay. So you separate them by comma, and that gives you those two.
I got you.
Next, your teacher wants us to convert it to an integer. So we can just say because when you do this, this is a string. When every time you read a line, it's a string. It takes as a string. So
Okay.
you need to convert to integer.
That's what I was going to
Integer.
ask. It's already an integer. So why do we have to change it? But it was a string, and now we need to change it into an integer.
Exactly. So all we did is we don't need to create a brand new variable for this. We can
Mm-hmm.
just update it. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
So a unity term equals a unity term, but with the integer passed in. That's all. All right.
Got it.
So that's that. And as far as the inflation, we're going to convert to float according to your teacher. So this is for inflation. Inflation, and this one goes for annuity. Annuity term. Okay.
Thank you
That
for
makes
doing.
sense. That makes sense because inflation is one, and at some point, I think he wants us to
It'll
create
be in
also
decimal
to a
point.
percentage. Huh?
Yeah. It'll be in decimal points or a percentage, right?
Exactly. So inflation equals float. So inflation and then divided by 100, not 1,000.
Hmm.
Okay, and terms file that close. So this is one of the reasons why I don't like the way this is being coded, because this actually forces you to have this last line
Mm-hmm.
closing the file. And a lot of people don't like that because they forget, right? There are
In the
not,
book,
there's a much
in the
better.
book that I read, he wants us
Mhm.
to do that every time.
Yeah. Oh man, that's a pain in the butt.
Hmm.
Okay. Anyway, so we'll just keep it there for now. All right. So far so good. We have our variables. We have our terms. That's all we care is the term. All right. At this
Mm-hmm.
point, the term. We got our file. We read we got the terms. Now it's time to deal with the other files.
Okay.
With the sparse CF file name and sparse rates file name. So we're going to tackle each one of those separately. So we got to make this clear what we're doing here. We are creating the dense cache flow file. Okay,
Okay.
this is very important. This is what we're starting here. For this, we're going to be using, uh, actually, I'm going to put a little three with the three things here because I want to make sure that we're talking about what are we talking about here? A sparse. We're going to be using the sparse file name, the cache flow, right here. We're going to be using this here. Okay, we're going to be using this. That's our input. So that's going to be our input. Input. Okay, and in parentheses, I'm going to put the actual name of the thing, which is, so I know what I'm talking about here. It's going to be this right here. All right. Okay. And my output. Output. Come on. Okay. Output is going to be this one right here, the dense CF file name. One thing I don't like he does, but I'm keeping it the way he wants it. He's
Mm-hmm.
having all these variables here at the top. It's a little bothersome because you
Right.
gotta keep going back up to read what
Uh-huh.
they mean. So what I do is this. See, this is what I do. I
You
bring them
copy.
down here
Mm.
so I can quickly take a look, right? Because I'm going to be working with this variables in a moment a lot. So I gotta keep myself, I need to keep note of what's going on here. Okay, so for myself, this is basically for myself. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I need to do this. See, much easier. I don't have to keep scrolling up. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is create what's called a sparse file, and that's going to be once again open, right?
Mm-hmm.
Open. We're going to pass in our thing right there. Let's see
File.
here,
Mm-hmm.
file name, and that's going to be reading,
Right.
read mode, and then file equals open, and then we're going to pass in our dense file name
Mm-hmm.
like that. Read mode, read mode. All right. So we're reading them into those,
Yeah.
and we're gonna the way he's approaching it, and it's okay. We're starting with month equals to 1. So let's make sure we say that.
Okay.
Okay. And you'll see why he created a variable called month equals to 1. All right. For each line in a sparse file, Okay. So this open creates a sparse file. It has
Right.
all the contents of this for reading. For each one of those, we're going to split, do a line split again. So let's take a look at that file for a moment so we know what we're talking about. Okay, so it's going to go right here
Mhm.
and split this, and you're going to get a 1, and you get your cash flow right there.
The one on the
So you're
left
going
is
to,
month. The one on the right
yep,
is cash flow. Mm-hmm.
exactly, perfect. So first we do just like we did before, a
Right.
split
Lines
right here like
on,
this,
and
and then on the
we
left,
over. That's
on the
going to be
left,
month
and we're
variable
gonna do it.
month in cash flow.
Yeah, so I'm gonna call it this CF that month and CF that amount.
Okay.
All right, so far so good. So always come now. We do what we did before too, converting a string
To
to
integer.
integer
Okay.
for the month. That is for the month. So that's month. Go back, go back. All right, month. All right, so we do CF month equals, we're just updating it, int
Mhm.
that CF month.
Right.
All right, so far so good. And we'll do another conversion right here to a float. Right here, converting amount.
Thank you for
So
taking it
CF.
step by step like this, Victor. That way I can review the video and still follow along. You know.
Yeah, because the point here is, yeah, of course, we're trying to complete this assignment and get you points, but the
But I want to
most
learn.
important thing is that you understand it.
Right.
That's the
Right.
key thing, right?
And the
Because
step
you're
by
paying
step
for an
is really okay.
education.
Mm-hmm.
We're paying for an education is so you understand. You get away from this. You don't have to be like the expert in Python, but as long as you understand this code, you will
Mm-hmm.
be able to read. But it's like another language. You know what I'm saying? You're learning Python language. It's like another language, same thing. You're reading it. You're learning to read it
Mm-hmm.
like another language. Okay, float. So, so prior to this course, you're like, what the heck's going on? Now you're getting it, right? You're
Yeah.
like, I see. I'm reading like a different language.
Well, so far I've
All
been
right.
able to follow what you're doing without having to ask questions because I understand what you're
See,
doing.
see what I'm saying? So that's the point. That's how you learn a different language. It's the same with Python. So CF amount float. So we're converting a float CF amount and we're updating it. Pretty cool. Pretty cool so far. All right. So here comes the logic behind this. So while loop, all right, month. I'll explain it. Don't worry. Don't
Right.
worry. CF month. Okay. So we're gonna make some comments here. Okay. And I'm going to make this comment. Month. Remember, just so you remember, month at this point is 1.
Right.
Okay. And we're saying CF month is less than C a month. I'll tell you what's going on. Okay. So basically, it's this. Let's go back here. All right. And let's go to our output, the way it should look. Here's our, no, that's not the one.
Right.
Where is it? So you understand that what's the logic behind it right here. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. So you're starting, we're saying month equals to 1, right?
Right.
Month equals to 1. Remember that variable called month. And then you have your cash flow month. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to go through the first line and check what is cash flow month 1, right? And
Mm-hmm.
what is month 1? Okay. So this part right here is month 1 less than cash
Right.
flow month 1? No, because 1 is not less than 1. 1 is not less than 1. 1 is equal to 1, but it's not less than 1. So this will not happen. Okay. Well, so since this is not happening, and you'll see what's going on inside, what you're going to do is this. We're going to skip for a moment the while loop, and you'll see what happens when 1 is not less to 1. So this will be like saying, okay, it's like saying normal situation when you have the one you found that month in that file. When that happens, you're going to go to your dense file, right? Which is what we're writing to. Remember, that's what we're writing to. That's the we're trying to create here, or we're trying to create there, which is called ptest1 dense CSV, right? So we're going to go to our dense file and use write, and we're going to write that CF amount for that month.
W.
Okay, we're going to write, okay. Now the problem, CF amount, remember, it was a float. It was a float. Okay, so before you write it, because you need to have on that text, you need to have that amount right there, that amount that they found it, that they found it in the other file. They found it. It needs to write it, but then needs to go to the next line. So you need a new line symbol after the amount. Okay, you need the, yeah, you need this here, this right here, right there. The problem, you cannot use it if the amount is a float. You cannot use that. So you need to make it a string. Change it back to string. So we have string is this. Okay. So you do that. So you do that. You do that, and then you increase your month count plus equal 1. Okay. Now, so this is happens when it finds that there is a month in there. When there is a month in there, no problem. No problem. It will find, say, 1 is not less than 1. No problem. It will grab that amount, right, and put it in here and add a new line. No problem. Now let's go to month number 2, because month increased by 1 here. Now month is 2. So now month is 2. So now month is 2. I'm going to put a 2 there. And the month is found on the file is also 2.
Okay.
Look, it's also 2. So there is an amount for February. So 2 is not less than 2, obviously. So it's going to go back to our dense file and write that amount in there. No problem. So far, so good. It wrote it. See? Negative 98,000. No problem. And month is added by 1. So now we go. Now month is 3, right? Now month is 3. What's our next amount in the file? Oh, 9. Oh, so this now this becomes true. So now this becomes true because 3 is less than 9.
Wow. Okay.
So what does this mean? What are you going to write if there is no number 4 or there's no number 3? I'm sorry. When there's no number 3, what do you write in this while loop? And now we get finally to the part that we needed here.
Right.
So no cash flow means no cash flow for that month. No cash flow for this month. In this case, 3.
Month is less than CF month.
Right. So dense file. Then we're going to write to it, and we're going to put a string of 0.0.
Right.
Plus your escape thing, your new line thing. All right. Okay. That's that.
This is the first part that I'm confused in. The month and less than cash flow month. Yeah. I would not have gotten past this part because I would not have understood that part.
Right. See that?
Right.
And let's say the next month. What happens in next month? So that's when I write a 0, right? Because he didn't find it, so it's just going to write this 0.0. What happens on 4 though? So now month becomes 4. Same thing, exactly, because it's still less than 9 until it hits 9, and then it's going to write that amount in there. All right, so we're going to actually test this out to see if this is correct or not. So I'm just going to keep the correct file on site, okay, because we're going to have the same file with the same name there. So let's see here for line, and because it's a while loop, like I say, it's going to keep doing that until the month becomes no longer applies, until it reaches 9, right? So let's see here. Let's see, make sure everything is here correct. Just gonna make sure. Let's see here. Okay. So this is the only problem like I have. Every time you open, see, I was all right here. We open these files, right? I was about to run it, and it's not going to work because you need to close them. You need to close those files. See, that's why I don't like doing it this way, but that's okay. So at the very end of your code, actually you should always do that from the start, because you will forget, trust me, you will forget to close those two open files that you had there. So let me just code dense that file, that close. Anything you open must be closed. Okay. All right. So let's see here. I'm just gonna run it. Let's see here. Dense file not writable. CF amount number 79 right here. So let me just go back in here and say string dot place with dense file. Let me go back in here like this. All right. Let's see. Dense file. That right. Okay. Another thing is we need to increase the month by 1 here as well. +1, or else we will not be updating month. We need to update month in here inside the while loop. Okay. Dense file is still not writable. I wonder why. Dense file. Didn't we open it in here? Okay. Open dense file. Oh, okay. Let's see here. It says, see right here?
Yeah. Oh,
we have an R in there. We want to write to it.
Now
so that's W.
Right.
Let's
so you couldn't write into
it.
So,
okay. So now it worked. So let me see here. I have it under test, I believe. Test. We'll have this one in here. Test. Okay, let's see here. It's test.text. Okay, there you go, right? So we're almost there. But what are we missing though? We stop once it's 9. Once it's 9. So what we need to do is now bring in the 26 from here. We need to bring this 26 so it continues more times, and they all will be 0. By the way, they all will be 0. So that will be reported. So we're going to create another while loop before we close. Remember, the closing part is the very end.
Right.
Do not write after you close this thing. So we're going to say any later months until the end of the entity term. Okay, let's go. Okay, after last cash flow. Say while, another while loop here, while month is less than or equal, then this term 26 here, right? So if it's at 9, right, and then it changed to 10, so it's still less than 26, right? It has to go all the way back to 26. Then after that, we'll do this thing. So even though it finished with all the lines in my sparse file, it will continue to write stuff. All right, it will continue. So we'll do this thing right here. We're just going to copy and paste it in here. What is it going to write? It's going to write zeros.
Right.
And of course, this while loop needs an E in there. And I actually like to have a parenthesis in there. I know it works without parentheses, but helps me read it better that way. All right, and then month plus equal 1 needs to be updated, of course, or never will become an infinite loop. All right, and I have my closing files right there. Okay, let's go back. I need to close. Make sure you close your file before you run this thing, or you will not have access to write to it. Okay. So make sure you close this thing, and you run it. Okay, let's reopen it.
Here, line 87. While is not in the for loop. That's why it's all the way out to the left, right? It's a separate loop.
Exactly. Yes, it's out because we're already done with the lines. This is after the reading of the lines. We're done with the lines. This is afterwards. We're just filling it up to 26 with zeros.
Right.
So let me open this file right here, and it looks good. It looks good to me. Very close to what's supposed to look. It's supposed to look. All right. Pretty cool.
Okay.
All right. So it looks like it worked. All right. Okay. Just making sure. Let's see here. You just gotta make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. Okay, we're good.
Right.
We're good. All right. I don't want an extra zero in there. It's gonna mess us up. You know what I'm saying? One
Later
extra
on.
zero is gonna mess us up. One extra zero is gonna mess us up, man. All right. So now we're gonna tackle the other file. All right. Let's see here. Let me get some water. All right. So once again, we want to be focused on what we're doing right here. This one is going to be a little different. Okay, so for this one is the sometimes what I do too to help me read this thing, I put like a bunch of asterisks like this. A lot of people like to do that.
Yeah.
Me too.
Next part.
Okay,
Huh?
so this dense rate file. Yes, because you don't want to trust me. There's so much code here. So much code. You don't want to get confused. You can right. You gotta help yourself. You know what I'm saying? Dense rates file. All right. And the input is going to be go back up. The sparse rates file name. This one right here. This is my sparse file. Did you just copy just the name? I don't want to copy just the name. I want to copy the entire thing. Sparse rate. This whole thing I need to know. This whole thing. Like so. Okay, and the actual name. Where is the actual name of the thing? All right. So this will be this right here. All right, great. Okay, that's my sparse file. Now my dense file. Dense right here. Dense in here. Dense. All right. And this is going to be this right here. It's gonna go to rates. Making sure this is correct. Yeah, test CF. All right, that's good. All right. So it's similar to before, a sparse file equals open, and then we're going to sparse rates file name. Okay, gotta be careful there. R
Right.
and then we're gonna do dense file, and then we're gonna do something a little different here. Not right here, but you'll see in a moment what I'm talking about. Dense rates. Okay, and this W this time, I will not make that mistake now.
Right.
The W, because we're right into there, and once again, we're going to use the same scenario as before. We're going to say starting with month equal to 1.
Now he said that
month.
too, right?
Month. Okay, and then we're going to say for line in a sparse file. Let's see here.
So far, all he's wanted us to do was just to pull up the file, right?
Yeah.
And write a code that brings it out.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Because he already gave us the file. He wants us to open it, read it,
right,
and be able to write a code that prints it out again.
Right, prints it out, but just like I said, just the that is specific value, right? Not the months, and also not only not print the months, but as you saw, there are missing months, right? Missing, so you need to code those with zeros in the previous one. In this one, it's going to be little different for the missing values, and also it has to be up to the 26 from the other one, right? So all that logic needs to be combined carefully, right? Carefully combined. Let's see here what's going on. All right, let's see here. Okay, Okay, so we're gonna do a split here and put a comma in there.
Go
And
back
this
to
is gonna give us two variables. We call this rate month and rate amount. Right, rate amount of split. Okay, and converting string to integer. That will be the rate month. What was that?
That's a pain having to do it every time from the
Yeah,
string to the, yeah.
yeah, but it helps me. Worse, the more I annotate all this stuff, the better for me,
Oh no, I
right?
don't mean
Because
annotate it. I don't know that part I love. I'm just saying every time you take something from a string, you got to convert it
right.
to do it in the
Yeah,
file. Yeah.
I know it's a pain, but I know. But let's see. So rate month, right? Int that's rate month. Okay. So next we're gonna do this. We'll say converting a string to float, and this is going to be the amount. Okay, make sure this like this, and then we're going to do rate amount equals float rate amount. Okay, and we're going to do this rate amount. All right. Okay, so we're going to be using kind of the same logic, but we're going to change some things here. Okay, so just to keep track of this, month equals to 1 right now at this point, right? And less than rate month. All right, so you say while month is less than rate month. Oops. Okay, we're gonna tackle that in a moment. But first is we're gonna do what happens if it's not, right? So we'll say dense file that right. Correct? And then we have the rate amount plus this thing. But you need to convert it to the string or else it won't work.
Right.
Back to string like that. And then we just make sure we're increasing month by 1 in here. It's a month plus equal to 1. All right. So far so good. We're able to do that. One problem though, right? One problem is the what's it called? The how do we tackle this situation? So what happens is this, right? Before, right? So you say like no rate amount for this month, right? So before we tackled it by using what's it called right here? The dense, right in this. Right? The problem here, we cannot do that. So we have to do dense that right. So we definitely need an empty here, right? So if we put here, if we write str, right, we cannot have 0.0, of course. We cannot have. So let's take a look at what the file looks like in here. All right. So, and let's go back to the rate file. Right, so 1 is there, 2 is 175, right? 3 is there, 1.8, 4 is 1.8, right? 4 is 1.8. So what do we do now? We need to replicate the previous one, right? So if you put rate month here, you put rate month in there, and we of course need to increase this by 1 plus equals 1. If you increase that, let me run this thing. Let's see. Dense rates. You know why I didn't write? I hate this. You need to close these things.
Yeah.
The pain in the butt having to do this. All right. Okay, let's go back up. Okay, so I need to run this again. That's right. Okay. So you will see here, if you just write it like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where you get this 5 from. Where you got that 5 from? Rate month. Oh, it should be rate amount right here. Yeah, I wanted to show you rate amount. Now we're not typing the month in there, the amount. So I'm gonna close this. You need to see this. Let me run this again. Running it. Okay.
There you go.
So what happens is this, right? It went to January, February, March, right? February, March, and since there's no April, the next line is 1.92. The one for May, that's the one, the next line, right? So it just took that one and put it in there, the 0.92, right? But how? If that's the rate amount, how do we go back in time to the previous line to give us that amount? It's very difficult. When you were working with a list, easy. We can probably do like a for loop and do like go back to the previous index. We can do something like that. No list here. So how do we tackle this? That's probably the most important part. How do you go back? One way is to keep a different variable outside of the loop. Let's call this previous rate amount like that. Previous rate amount. You can call it whatever you want. Like this is just a name, right? And this will be keeps track, and that's going to be empty. Keeps track of previous month amount. Okay. Rate amount. Okay. So one thing you could do is this. So at the end, let's say it runs, right? It says right here, rate month, right? You have rate month. And at the end, once it finishes running, right before it writes it, well, it doesn't have to be before it writes it. So what you do is you add that to there. Previous rate amount equals rate amount. Okay.
Right before it goes back.
Before it goes back. So what happens is this, watch. So let's say you were in amount, let's go back here. You were in amount 1.6, right? 1.6. So 1.6 is rate amount, right? So it goes through all this, no problem. It will write it to a file, but guess what? Before it writes it to the file, it keeps track of it. It assigns it to previous rate amount. So previous rate amount is now 1.6. Okay. So now it goes back, rate amount, now it's 175, 1.75. It goes through it. No problem here. Month is not less than that. So it will just go through it, and previous rate amount gets updated to 1.75, right? And it gets printed. Now it goes to 1.8. Now rate amount is 1.8. No problem here with the while loop because 3 is still in there. So 3 is there, no problem. So it just skips this whole thing and goes here, and previous rate amount gets updated to 1.8. Here's the magic. Here comes the magical part. Remember, previous rate amount, I'm going to write it down, is 1.8. Okay, 1.8. 1.8 from 3. Now, month is 4. Goes back here. 4 is less than 9 because now rate month is, it's 5, right? So rate month is now 5. So 3 is less than 5. So you enter into the loop. Now you're entering for the first time in the loop. All right? And now remember, what is previous rate amount? 1.8. Remember, that was 1.8. Up to this point, previous rate amount is 1.8 because it hasn't gotten there yet. It hasn't gone after the while loop yet. So has entered the loop, and previous rate amount is 1.8. Rate amount is 1.92, right? So instead of writing rate amount, we will write previous rate amount to it. Remember, up to this point, after entering the loop, previous rate amount is 1.8 from the previous pass, from the previous iteration. So that's 1.8. So whatever gets printed in here for the month number 4 will be the previous rate amount, which is 1.8, not the current one, which is rate amount. Rate amount is, at this point, is 1.92, I think it was. Yeah, 1.92. So 1.92. Right? And 1.8 will get written there because you're asking for the previous rate amount, not the rate amount. Now, it finishes this while loop. Well, month gets updated. Now, month gets updated to 5, right? So 5 gets out of the loop. Month is 5. Previous rate amount gets updated now to 1.92. 1.92. Okay, gets updated. Finally gets updated. 1.92. So now it's 5. 5 goes back in there, no problem, because 5 is in there. So it will skip the while loop, right? And previous rate amount will get updated to 1.90, 1.5 and 5. So that will be 192 again. So rate amount gets 192 because you're in that one. 192 gets written. So it will be 1.8, 1.8 for month number 4, 192 for 5. Right. Then gets updated. Now month is 6. 6, it's in there, it's in the list. So it will skip the while loop, and previous rate amount gets updated to 1.99, and 1.99 gets written into the file. So you only use previous rate amount when you need it, only when you need to use the loop. So the placement, the location of this line is the magic. Where you place it, it has to be after the while loop for this to work. Okay, it cannot get updated prior to the loop. It has to get updated after the loop, right? So it retains the previous amount with the new one on the same at the same time, so you're able to use it. Okay, I know it's confusing. I understand that, but that's the magic. That's part of the magic. That's the part of the magic. Magic is supposed to be a little confusing there. So I'm just going to finish up this code right here, and then I'll go back to explain it one more time. But so to just say any later months until the end of the annuity term. Okay. After last interest rate amount. Okay, so for this one, we'll just say the same thing as before. While open month is less than equal than annuity. Come on, term. Okay. And then we say dense file. Right. Okay, and then we have rate amount. Now for this one, this is interesting because we say, Victor, why don't you keep previous rate amount here? Why in here? And I'll tell you in a moment why that is. You don't need it here because there's no more rate amounts. So the last rate amount just needs to be duplicated, right? Right. It's just to be duplicated. Right. So rate amount, previous rate amount doesn't matter. They're both the same at this point.
Right. That's right.
So it doesn't matter which one you put in here. I decided to put rate amount. You could put it's the same number at this point.
I got
you. Okay. STR only works right there. The magic only happens right here. After that, previous rate amount is useless.
Let me ask you when we go back to that. Okay.
Sure. Yeah, no problem. No problem. Yeah, we're gonna go that in depth because you need to understand how that happened. It's you need to. That's the key here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, month equals 1. But first, let's test it. Okay.
Right.
All right. Let's see here. Dense rate. We don't want that anymore. All right. Making sure everything's okay. Looks like it is. This is rate. All right. So let's go back and check with our previous one, right? And let's see here. See, so far so good. Looking good, right?
Yeah.
Looking good there. But we still gotta make sure though there are 26 of those. So just give me a moment. Because one extra one,
We'll mess this
one
up later.
extra 1.99, and we're done because we're gonna need these two files for the second part.
Right.
Probably the most difficult part. So you gotta get those values correct, you know what I'm saying? Or else all your formulas may not work.
Right.
Let's see. Let's go back here. So, all right. They look the same. So all I need to do is just make sure I'm reading from the correct one, not from the answer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. 24, 25, 26. All right, we're good.
Now, this notepad that you have, when we do the test, I didn't see any, we have to turn that in, right?
No, you don't have to turn it in. That will happen on their end, right?
Right.
Because once you run it, it will create it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Hey, we're doing it each way just to test it to make sure that it's correct, that it's right.
Exactly. Yes. Right. Yes. All right. So back to this part right here. So this is where the magic happens, right? So what you need to do is this. Watch. You need to have another file here. This will help you. Okay. So we have previous, right? Previous rate amount at this point is nothing. Okay, nothing, right? So month is 1, and rate amount will be equals. Since there are very few values here, we can actually do this easily. Yeah.
1.6.
For some other students it's a pain because they have like hundreds of these values. So let's see here. So have 1.6 at this point, right? So that's for month 1. All right. So this is how you enter this part right here. Right? So you enter here. So you go to this part. This is the key one, right? Mm-hmm. While month rate, right? So this is the key one here. So you go to this condition. Doesn't work. You don't have to go in there because 1, right? 1 is not less than 1, right? So this doesn't happen, right? Doesn't. So this is false.
Right.
False. You do not go through the while loop. Do not go through it. While loop. All right. Loop. All right. So you do not. So you skip this whole thing. Skip it. Now here comes the interesting part, right? If you have previous rate amount, the update before the while loop, useless. Becomes useless. The power of the previous rate amount is after the fact. If you have it right here, you'll see why. So now what you're saying is previous rate amount is rate amount. So you update it, right? So so previous, let's see here, previous rate amount gets updated.
Right.
And the previous rate amount now becomes 1.6. All right. Okay. So far, so good?
Yes.
Okay. So previous rate amount is 1.6, right? So we're done here. We're done. So get rid of this. Yeah, okay. Next iteration. Okay, so we're gonna start with this here. So we enter the iteration with this ones. Now previous rate amount is what? 1.6, correct?
Mm-hmm.
From the previous one.
Right.
Month is now 2 because it became incremented. Month is 2. And rate amount is now for the next line. Now it's reading the second line. It's right here, right? It's reading this.
Yeah.
So for month 2 is 1.75.
Right.
1.75. 75. Month 2. Month 2. All right, let's see here. Let me just review it. Okay, so let's copy this thing and go to, what happened here? 2. Okay, 2 and then 2, right? It's checking right there, that with a while loop right there. The while loop is checking if it's 2 and 2, right? That is false, correct?
Go in the
Because
loop.
2 is not less than 2. So that is false. So it doesn't go through the loop, right? Doesn't go in the loop, right? Now what happens? That's nothing happens. So you're not using it. Nothing's going to happen. So previous rate gets updated once again, right? And we go previous, we say previous rate amount. Now gets updated to what? What number?
1.75.
1.75, right? 75. Okay. And that happened right there in this line right here. Like that's what I was saying. You wanna do the magic here. I want to repeat it one more time. The magic here happens if you do this update after the loop. Okay. If you do it before the loop, it will be useless. You will see that in a moment. But remember, it's after the loop. Well, let's move on to the next iteration. Next iteration. Okay. Okay, so now we have this right here. So what is the previous rate amount at this point?
1.75.
1.75. Month is 3, right? Now, month is 3. And what's the value for month 3? Is 1.8. 1.8. For month equals 3. Okay, so we jump into here. And you say, okay, let me double check here. All right, so it's 3 is less than 3, right? So that will be false once again. Then I go through the loop. So just skip that thing and skip it, and then previous rate gets updated. Previous rate amount gets updated, and let's see here. And we go equals to what? What would this be now?
1.8.
Rate amount. 1.8, right? Very good. So previous rate amount, and that gets updated thanks to this line right here. Previous rate amount. Okay, so here comes the important part, right?
Right.
Okay, you understand so far what's been happening?
Yes. So far, yes.
Okay. So far, rate amount right here, right? Now rate amount is 1.8. Remember, 1.8. Month is 4.
Right.
And rate amount is now, what's the next line for rate amount is this 1.92. 92 for rate month 5, isn't it? 5.
There.
See right there?
Okay.
5. So now things are going to change a little bit, right? So you have is first is 3 month less than rate month. So month is 4. So 4 less than 5.
It is, and that's why we're going
True.
in the loop.
So yes, go in the loop, like you say. And this is important, so yeah, be careful here. So 1 month.
Now I know when it's going in. Yeah.
Right. See what I'm saying? Okay. So go like that. Now we gotta add some things to it because now we're in the loop. Now we're inside the loop. So let's go back to our code for a moment. Okay. So now what we're saying is this. Let me just copy this right here, this part, because you need to understand this part very, very well. So let me just write this in here just about this. Okay. All right. So what are we writing in the file? Are we writing the rate amount or the previous rate amount? Previous rate amount. See it right here. It says right there. We're writing into a file the previous rate amount, which is what is it? What's the amount? What's the previous rate amount?
1.92.
No, it says right there. See, it's right there in front of you.
Right.
Previous rate amount is 1.8. It says right there. I'm not saying it. It says right there. You agree with that. Previous rate amount was 1.8. So what gets printed? 1.8, right? 1.8 gets printed. Not 1.92. See? That's how we were able to keep track of the previous line and print it there.
Right.
See that? Very smart, right? Right. Yeah. But in order for that to work, this line right here has to be after the loop, right? See? Now you understand why. Because after the loop, it gets updated again. Previous rate is to 0.92, right? And it's useless now. Now my previous rate amount becomes useless because I needed that 1.8. I didn't need that 1.92, right? So you have this prior to the loop. Let's say you had a line like right here. Rate amount becomes 192, right? Previous rate amount and it becomes useless because then you get to write 1.92 in there and for nothing, all for nothing. Right? In order to see the power.
It's actually in the loop.
Yeah. So what we do is we put that out like that after it, right? After this. So it gets updated after the fact, right? So now you get your 1.8 in there, right? Now let's see here. One more thing. Let's go back in this. Where is it? Right here. So here's a 5, right? Here's a 5. Now, remember, this loop will work while the month is less than rate month, right? Now, let's just pretend for a moment that this was, you know what? Let's go back to this. Instead of 5, this was 6, okay? And this was 7, all right? So there's no 5. Okay, remember this happened because there was no 4.
Right.
Now there is no 5, right? So the next one here will be 6. So here will be 6. Here will be 6, right?
Right.
And it will enter the loop. Everything else will happen the same.
Right.
Then month gets inside the loop. Now that it's inside the loop, month becomes incremented by 1.
Right.
Okay. So the loop happens again. Now we're talking about the loop now. Okay, so you will have another loop going on. You know why? Because the loop will still, because now the month is 5. Month is 5. It's still less than 6. See? Because even though you increment the month by 1, it's still less than 6. So this becomes true, right? It goes into the loop again. It doesn't go out. It's still inside the loop. So what's the previous rate amount? It still is 1.8, right? It still doesn't get updated to 1.92. It's still 1.8, and 1.8 gets printed once again for the 5th month. So see the power of this? It will keep just going from the previous rate amount up to until month becomes 6, which is the actual number here, right? So this will work. Don't you think this just worked because 4 was not there? Right. No. It doesn't matter. The loop will continue, and that 1.8, that previous rate amount, will get printed. the way it was meant to be. Right, meant to be done. All right, so that was a lot.
Yeah.
All right, so it looks like our files are coming out correctly.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that was everything for pass one. So if this is correct, you should get your write up. You do your write up for your 10 points. You should get 55 just out of tonight.
Okay,
and tomorrow we can tackle the other part, and hopefully we'll get this figured out. This of course involves all the mathematical formulas, but at least we tackle the first part, right?
Yes.
So I think we're ready to tackle the next one, so we'll do that tomorrow.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
thinking tomorrow we could probably meet a little earlier, right? Probably like around 9, between 9 or so, like around 9.
Your time or my
Your time. Your time.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
9 your time, and yeah, so that would be a little bit earlier, and we'll play by ear. If there's any time earlier than that, then great, right? Then great.
Yeah,
But we'll
as long
see.
as well, I turn this in by midnight tomorrow.
Yep. You told me. So let's see. We'll figure something out. Don't worry. All right.
I appreciate it, Victor. Not just the way that you are working with me at these late times, but also the way that you're doing it step by step, so I understand it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back, right? I'm going to have your video on one side. I'm going to have Python up, and then I'm going to listen and do and listen and do, and not just copy. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, you gotta, really get into it.
Yeah.
And make sure you do your also write up.
I'm gonna make notes just like you, not the same way you do it, but in my own words to tell me what I'm doing.
Right. All right, man. So sounds good. So I'm gonna let you go for now.
I got
we'll talk tomorrow. All right,
man. Thank you.
Okay, sure, no problem, man. I'll see you. All right.
Thank you.
Okay, bye bye.
Bye bye.